Okay, so this is video 2 of modeling the Convent Studio um, housing units, project 4, part A. And in part 1, we modeled the walls, we modeled the door frames, window frames, and anything operable, so operable windows, the door itself. And we also modeled the roof and the floor. And where we left off, we were talking about modeling the exterior space of this courtyard. Now, this unit over here is actually, of course, identical. You can probably tell from the plan. I'm going to make a copy of this wall. Oops. And I'm going to make that the edge of this door right here, and that goes like there. Okay, that's part 1. That's going to make the one edge of our little courtyard outside space there. Then I need to draw, I'm going to trace out the rest of this wall. I'm going into top view. And I'm actually just going to go back into my 2D really quick and turn everything 3D off, so I don't kind of get out of plane or out of whack or anything like that. I'm just going to trace the inside edge of this wall. Kind of getting as close as I can. Maybe you have an idea how yours will work. Maybe it's not this complicated, but anyway. And then I'm going to trim all these edges together. Nice. Now this is just a gate in that same wall. So in order to make the wall, I'm going to offset this polyline that I just drew. I'm going to set the distance to the thickness that it is in this plan. Oops. Why did it do that? Oh, because I already offset it. Not what I want to do. Offset, there we go. Perfect. I'm just going to fix this little line right here. Great. Oh, great. Okay. And then turning my 3D back on. So this is my wall that's going to form my kind of like little exterior courtyard. So I'm going to throw that onto the layer walls real quick. I'm going to go extrude curve. I don't know, let's guess it's 8 feet. Okay, cool. It's pretty good. And of course, there's a cutout right there where the entrance to that courtyard is. Just going to make myself a little box. Boolean difference, that box, that's my door. Okay, and I'll add that door later on, but anyway. So there's the kind of wall that forms our exterior courtyard. What I would actually do is I would go in here, cut plane, because I don't want the rest of this stuff in my drawing, right? So I'm going to trim this rest of this wall away. Tap that guy. Actually, because we're really just looking at what this volume is, right? We don't need to know the rest. Okay, cool. So there's our little courtyard. Now I want to continue to add detail to the interior. Maybe I'll throw this on a different layer so it's less distracting. What I'm going to work with first is where's my floor on my second story and my stairs. So courtyard. And in fact, I go to my floor layer. keep that turned off just for the time being. 2D, oops, not that. Right. Okay, so there's the outline of my floor. Same thing like before, I'm actually just going to extrude that outline all the way through. And then I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to type in split. And I'm going to use my wall to split it. And so what will happen is we'll get a little bit of surface inside the wall. I'm just going to hold Control and deselect the part inside the actual volume and delete everything else. That's the floor. That's what I want. Keep. Now, because this guy is actually open on 3 sides, it's not going to want to cap for me. So I'll just really quick close one end so that I can cap it. Just join those together, cap. Okay, so now I have a closed solid. Great. Okay, there's my floor. That's easy enough. In interior walls here, same thing as what I just did. I'm going to extrude it all the way through. Oh, this isn't even actually a closed surface. Close that curve real quick. And then extrude it. So split. Use my wall. Delete everything I don't. So what's actually happening here is my wall is above, or my interior wall that I'm trying to trim with my exterior wall is above where my exterior wall is. So it's trimming with just a little bit connected at the top. So that's still one object. You see that? Now the way to fix that, a couple ways. I mean, the best way, of course, because we don't want it to be above our exterior walls, is just to edit the points, edit the original curve so that it's correct. Okay. But we could also use our cut plane from earlier. So if I'm using the cut plane and I'm just tracing out the edges of these walls, and remember I have my wall, my interior wall selected, those two surfaces be used to trim away the excess, and I'm just left with that wall. So I can cap, and I'll throw that on the same layer. I'm actually going to call that my interior walls. A separate thing there. Okay, cool. Which I think is the only interior wall we really have in this unit. Do the same thing with my floors here. So I can turn them on and off separately in the layers. Okay. So now we pretty much have the upper floor modeled. I'm going to turn off my exterior wall. Okay, and we have drawn out, and I'm sure you guys know the dimensions for the appropriate dimensions for stairs. I'm actually going to make the treads first, and then I'll make the stringer that holds the little beam that holds the actual treads. So I'm going to make just a planar surface, tracing out one of my stair treads. Stair. So I did not mean to do copy. Try and do a duplicate. Okay. And then I'm going to use, so right now that little tread is like right on in plane with the ground floor. I want to move it up 7 inches. I'm going to use move, constrain to vertical, type in 7 inches. And then I'll make a copy. And to do that a different way, but anyway, oops. Move, vertical, 7 inches. Now I can, once I have 2, I can just copy each one based on the previous. Go and I'm going to all the way up to my second story. And this is one of those things that we drew out our elevation properly. Looks like we kind of didn't. So what I'm going to do is, instead of working out all my dimensions, make sure I'm getting it just right. I'm going to use a little quick trick. Let's scale 1D. So I'm going to select all my stairs at the same time. I'm going to make what's called a bounding box. I'm going to type in bounding box and press enter. And I'm going to scale 1D all my stairs using that bounding box. And I think what I actually want here, there we go. Yeah, that's just right. Okay, and then these guys should have a little bit of thickness, obviously. Really not sure how much, so I'm just going to kind of make it up. I assume they're steel, so let's imagine they're like steel plate. Make them really thin. You know, maybe a quarter of an inch. That should be plenty. Right. And then in order to figure out where my beam needs to go, I'm just going to draw a line. And I'm going to trace and scale that guy up. I'm going to copy it. So what did I just do? Why can't I copy? So I'll copy it to either side. And I'm going to the outside of the thickness of my stair there. See where I'm at. Okay, cool. And so I'll make that a closed curve. And I'll make it a planar surface. Create the outline. And I will, like I did before, edit the edges so that they're where I want them to be. So I'm going to take this guy. Well, we could edit it or we could just trim it, I think. That works too. In our floor. I'll do the same with this. Okay. And so there's our kind of beam thing. And if you look at the actual building here, you can see it's got kind of a depth. It's like a flange, you know? So we're going to extrude out the edges so that we have that same thing on ours. So I'm just typing in extrude curve, and I'm selecting the outside edges. And this time I'm turning solid to off. That shouldn't be solid, and I'm giving it a little bit of depth. Show that it's a beam like that. Oops. Join everything. Okay, so we have one object. Offset surface to give it some thickness. And then I'm going to mirror this. Actually, it's probably not that thick. So sometimes when you have things that are really thin, you may want to just leave them. Let's just leave this one and see how it goes when we get to our drawing. I'm just going to mirror it across my stair there. Okay, cool. There's my stair. That's good. And then I also have this railing situation. Kind of weird. What I want to do, instead of modeling like two edges, so you can see in the actual house that that's kind of a pipe. circular cross section that's like, welded on, attached to the bookcase up here, and attached to the beam of the stair down below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the center line of that. I don't know what dimension I set this to. That's 2 inches. So I'm going to offset it by 1. Don't want to cap it. Make sure that's set to none. Okay. So that's kind of the center line of that handrail, right? I'm going to move it now. Holding Shift, I'm hitting Tab. Move it like right around where that guy needs to be. Doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. Okay, and then in order to make it round, to make it a pipe, I'm going to use the command pipe. And that will make, a circular cross section around any curve. So my radius should be 1, which will land me with a 2-inch overall pipe. That's 1 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and type 1 and press enter 3 times. And like so, we have a handrail. And I'm going to keep that center line actually in case I ever want to adjust. Okay, there's my handrail, and there's kind of my stair modeled. I'm going to model this door really quick, just as the add-in. I guess I didn't draw. So I'm going to add in that door, and then we'll get into modeling the furniture and the kitchen casework and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm making a box that's about the size of my door. Oops. All right, there we go. Got my plan back. I'm going to model the box that's about the size of my door. Make it 80 inches tall, which is my standard dimension for a residential door. And then I'm moving it up. So just like I did before, I'm going to do my Boolean. I'm going to copy this, explode it, make a window for door frame, and then make an actual door. It should all be on. Put it on the same layer as my window frames. Same thing. Okay, great. And now we're ready to start doing furniture and that kind of level of detail here. Working from, let me hide some of these drawings here. From the ground upwards, I'm going to add, again, just enough detail that we can kind of understand what's going on. Furniture-wise, I'm not going to make it super detailed. I'm not going to worry about the design of it or anything like that. I'm more concerned with like dimensions and proportions and things like that. I'm going to call this furniture and casework, which is going to be my kitchen cabinets and everything like that, my shelving, and anything else I want to add in. I'll give that guy its own color. Okay. And so I have my outlines here. I'll close that real quick. I'm just going to extrude it to where I need it to be. So we can see we actually have a thinner line here with an offset. Might use that. Start with. Or actually, yeah, let's extrude the whole thing. Just making a volume here. I'm going to use solid. The height of my counter. And then we have like a, the actual counter itself. So why don't I just scale, I set this to just below where the counter is. And then I'll extrude the counter itself. And I'm going to extrude this construction line. Just trim away that guy. Cap it. We have two volumes basically. That. I'll do a similar thing over here. I have this, I'm going to make it a closed outline, continuous. Oops, what happened there? Okay, close that guy. Extrude it up to the bottom of the counter. Extrude, surf, select the top of that volume, and make the counter. Now, I think in some cases it's going to make a lot of sense to have like, it's hard to see in some of these images, but we have shelving and we have, that's the shelving up above, but we have, so there we can see we have like a little cabinet at the end of the island and so on. That's all stuff that we want to kind of start to represent. Again, not too much detail, but just enough. Now, it doesn't matter if you're carving this kind of volume thing to make that stuff happen or not. I'm going to make a plane, do that little end piece of my cabinet here. And then I'm going to offset surf to give it the thickness it's supposed to have. Not mean to do that both sides. There we go. This one I'm actually going to extrude. Way I can go in plane with my weird angled cabinets. Move that over. Cool. So yeah, like things like that to do. And I'm using my move edge still. Make that little cabinet. There's also one called move face, which is what I just did there. Where I can move the face of a surface. Okay. And there's got to be a better image of that kitchen somewhere. And we'll add just a little bit of detail to that. So we have mostly cabinets. We got like maybe a dishwasher or something like that. A tiny stovetop. Okay, cool. So this guy is kind of modeled in a similar way. Where it's got those pieces on the end, which we could model those individual drawers, or we could even just draw them, which maybe is what we'll do when we get to the drawing part of this exercise. And 1.5. Okay, cool. So that's good enough. And so some of that other detail, we'll add it in later once we get to the drawing part. And I'm going to model I have like a shelving unit in here. Just extrude this line through. Okay. So we lost the back of it, I guess. Right, it's intersecting our window. That's a problem. Just going to cheat that guy up a little bit. So I will explode it. Oops. At this point, I'm just modeling kind of individual planes. It's going to work that way. Midpoint, there we go. Cool. That should serve us pretty nicely. One more. And we can also, at this point, we can group stuff to keep it together. We don't like mess it up like what I just did a second ago. Okay, cool. And then I got a kind of shelving unit up above that I could model. Let me go from this elevation instead. Okay. Okay. Using a cut plane. I'm going to want that to be one side of my railing there. And then I think what's kind of going on, just do a plane. Something like that. Copy this one to the middle. There's that built in. Okay. And then I'm just going to kind of do a similar thing with my kitchen cabinets here. Assume they're built the same way. And again, we can draw in some more detail later. I'm going to model like a little, let me just first put this in position, copy some of these lines over. The second floor bathroom there. Okay, off my interior wall. Okay, so that guy actually has a little sink in it, like a little, and we'll show that just so it's kind of obvious what this room is. And what I'll do maybe is actually a sphere. Get that cut out. This is going to be like a little ledge for our shower. That's presumably a piece of glass. Again, just enough detail to kind of show, and there's actually a lower ceiling in this space. Just enough detail to kind of show what everything is. Put on my roof layer there. Cool. Oh, looks like we got that wrong. It's supposed to be above the toilet. So just like before, I'm going to use my Control Shift or Move Edge command. Drag it over where it's supposed to be. Oops, I got a piece of the glass plane there I didn't want. Got that little vertex. Select that first. Right. There's our little sink. Okay. And we could add the sink down below too. I think it's pretty clear what's going on down there. Anyway, and then, well, you could add this if you wanted to. I'll just make a really simple kind of thing like that. That's honestly enough. And we could add a bed. Let's imagine we're doing box command. There's no bed command. Let's imagine we're doing like a queen size, which I think is like 60 by 80. So what I'll do is I'll just make a little bed frame. That way it's clear what it is. A few inches thick. Line it to I want that lifted a little bit off the floor. And I could even do like 4, quick legs. Mirroring them to line them up to where I want them. Cool. It's in that wall there. Okay. And then if I wanted to model a little pillow, and I can use the command fillet edge. I'm actually going to isolate this. It's easier to do. Fillet edge. And then where it says next radius, I'm going to go like 0.5. I think that's enough. Maybe 1 is good though. Let's try 1. And that'll make it kind of have rounded edges so it looks a little bit more kind of soft. A little bit cartoony, but it gets the point across, and that's what matters. Okay, cool. And so you could do kind of the same thing down below. We could start, just modeling simple, imagine we want a coffee table. Should be about 16 inches or so. So we could start to model additional furniture that way. Again, it's more about, I would go on the internet, and we can do like, chair dimensions. And get a little diagram here of just, what are kind of general dimensions that seem appropriate for a chair, for a lounge chair, for a sofa, for a dining chair, all that stuff. And we're just going to do kind of a rough equivalent without lots of detail. So if I go, let's say 16 by 14 by 2, that's the seat of a chair, about 18 inches off the ground. We can just start to model really basic stuff, kind of like that. Just meant to do copy that way. 3D. And I think the idea is just to like keep it really simple for right now. It's representative of what it is, but not overwhelming our drawing or our other images. Like so. Oh, but whatever. Kind of like that. Whatever. Anyway, okay. So you want to just kind of add enough detail with that furniture that you're showing what everything is, So like obviously we have a little kind of living space over here. There's kind of a dining area over here. Maybe we'd add a bar stool, something like that. And using kind of minimal detail to convey our point. And so that's going to wrap up this video. And in the next video, we'll cover how to take this drawing and begin to make it into, or take this 3D model, I should say, and make it into a nice axonometric drawing where we can kind of see everything that's going on. Okay, great. Go ahead and end it here.